Mozambique, located on the southeast coast of Africa. It is the 36th largest country in the world, with an area of just under 310,000 square miles. It would stretch from the Canadian border with Vermont all the way to Orlando, Florida. It should be one of the world's richest countries. It has some of the largest natural gas reserves in the world, and $128 billion of investment over the next decade has already been identified in this sector alone. In early October, it was announced that ExxonMobil was about to sign off on a $33 billion investment for a liquefied natural gas project, the biggest ever private investment in Africa. Anadarko, also from the US, announced a $25 billion investment in June this year. Total, the French oil company and Eni, the Italian oil company, have similar projects underway. Earlier this year, Eni's chief executive said that Mozambique is set to become the world's second largest gas exporter by 2024-25. Mozambique also has vast coal and other mineral reserves, including major reserves of titanium, gold, copper, and rubies. It has the world's largest deposit of graphite and the largest high-grade graphite mine, with a capacity of 40% of the whole global market. It has huge tracts of fertile agricultural land, ideal for cash crops such as sugar, timber, copra, cashew nuts, citrus, cotton, coconuts, tea, and tobacco. Mozambique also has another priceless asset as well: the sea. With Africa's fourth longest coastline, over 1,500 miles, about the same distance from New York City to Denver, Colorado, Mozambique has massive potential. The so-called Mozambique Channel is one of the great fishing areas of the world, with an abundance of high-value catches, with truly global market requirements. Yet, despite this abundance of potential riches, in 2013, only one registered vessel out of 130 licensed to fish in its offshore waters was Mozambique-owned. The sea should also be a great source of transit fees for the numerous vessels going between the Cape and the Persian Gulf and Indian Ocean. This great maritime asset has its risks. Tom Hanks' movie, Captain Phillips, highlighted the very real dangers of piracy in the region. Terrorism is also an increasing threat, as Islamic fundamentalists such as Al-Shabaab spread south along the East African coast. The group is already in the northern provinces of Mozambique. Drug trafficking and illegal immigration abound. There is also a largely unseen environmental catastrophe in progress, which is as bad as the better-known tragedy of elephant and rhino poaching across the African savannas: the poaching of fish. This is being carried out on an industrial scale by fleets from as far away as China, Japan, and Europe, and is being perpetrated by both organized criminals and regular fishing companies. In 2014, a think tank chaired by Kofi Annan, the former UN Secretary General, had estimated that Africa lost close to $20 billion a year on fishing and logging. Mozambique is one of the worst sufferers. But these threats also offer a major opportunity. More developed countries police their coasts, technically known as Exclusive Economic Zones, or EEZs. They earn significant sums by charging for fishing licenses and catches, and also for transit fees, in the same way that countries charge for airliners to overfly their territories, or for providing protection against pirates and other dangers. With the discovery of the vast natural gas reserves a decade ago, Mozambique finally saw an opportunity to break out from the poverty cycle. Regarded by financial experts as one of the countries with the best growth prospects, the world was lining up to invest. Mozambique could have the wherewithal to establish sovereignty over its coastline. It could do what other countries do and monetize its EEZ. The country's president ordered a study to find out how this could be done. The Mozambique government carried out extensive due diligence to check that Privinvest was the right company to fulfill this vital task. This included government delegations visiting various company sites, including shipyards in Kiel, Germany, one of the largest shipyards in the whole of Europe, and in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. With the capability Privinvest demonstrated, the contracts to supply went ahead. Looking at what was delivered, it can be seen that the contracts included a complex mix to ensure that their missions could be achieved. The first element, called Pro Indicus, concerned the implementation of the EEZ monitoring and protection. This consisted of 36 DV-15 interceptor vessels for nearshore identification, monitoring, and reporting of maritime activity. 3 WP-18 offshore patrol vessels for longer range and higher sea activity. 3 HSI-32 fast interceptor vessels, also capable of operating at the extremities of the EEZ and in poor weather. 6 light maritime patrol aircraft. 16 unmanned coastline security and surveillance stations. A command and control center. Satellite surveillance and communication capabilities. And, most importantly, the training to make it all work. A coastline significantly longer than the entire west coast of the USA requires a comprehensive solution to police. This mix of equipment was designed to achieve this. The equipment is first class, but also designed for the tough environment that you find in Mozambique. The second element, AMADM, concerned the establishment of a sustainable homegrown fishing industry. This consisted of 21 longliner trawlers, 3 bait fishing trawlers, and 3 Ocean Eagle 43 trimaran long-range patrol and support vessels. This contract also included the necessary spare parts, equipment, and training to ensure successful operation. Privinvest also delivered equipment in order to establish a land coordination center, which would have been dedicated to managing and coordinating the fishing fleet, had AMADM procured a site for this purpose. The third contract, MAM, involved essentially the establishment of a modern shipbuilding industry for Mozambique. It put in place the infrastructure and facilities needed to maintain and repair the Pro Indicus and AMADM vessels, but also other vessels used in connection with the offshore oil and gas industry in Mozambique. It included a 590-foot-long mobile maintenance vessel and port facilities at Pemba and Maputo, and 2 major maritime centers. A dedicated training facility, the Mozambique Maritime Institute, was set up, and a full range of training courses necessary to ensure that suitably qualified personnel were available, including a specific Train the Trainer course to safeguard the continuation of training courses under MAM management at the end of the project. In themselves, these 3 associated projects mark a step change in the maritime capability of Mozambique. But there is a complementary element that is perhaps even more important. The contracts include the intellectual property or IP rights, which enable Mozambique to build and sell more of these vessels to third parties in Mozambique and around the world. They could even do this in competition with Privinvest. And there is a very real market for exactly this type of vessel, which should offer the country a major opportunity to kickstart a vital industry and give much needed employment. There is also the immediate potential income from the servicing of vessels of the oil and gas industry. Typically, the annual maintenance bill for this industry is approximately 10% of the upfront cost, not forgetting the cost of providing security. With international oil and gas companies already committing well over $100 billion in the offshore gas fields, you can easily see the revenue potential for these businesses. Many countries with significant natural assets require external investors to offset their investment, meaning that they must spend a major proportion in the host country. Sometimes these offsets are even up to the value of 100% of total investment value. Mozambique maritime projects can easily pay for themselves, and in short order. So, what has gone wrong? Why is this not the success story that it should be? In some ways, they met a perfect storm. Mozambique is a country with many political problems, with rampant violence between the government and the official opposition, Renamo, as well as Al-Shabaab. This, combined with sometimes extreme weather conditions, makes implementation a challenge. It is also a land of vested interests and corruption, meaning that some officials see an indigenous industry as a threat to their own channels of kickbacks. Currently, South African entities are earning $100,000 a day, providing protection to the offshore gas fields. Some of that will find its way into the wrong hands. They will not want to give this up lightly. Similar things happened with the fishing vessels. Vested interests prevented fishing licenses being issued, even though they left Europe with all necessary certification to catch and deliver tuna to world-class requirements. Some commentators have questioned the viability of these projects, but the figures speak for themselves. There is a real need for what they offer. The products and services offered clearly have the capability to do the job. They have been delivered and put in place. All they lack is the local will to make them work. But, despite the many problems that are faced, it appears there are signs that things are changing for Mozambique. The massive inward investments spoken about a decade ago are finally becoming reality, with the tens of billions of US dollars now being committed by some of the largest energy and natural resource companies in the world. As a result of the investment made in the various maritime projects, Mozambique is now in prime position to derive the significant revenue from the protection and maintenance of these offshore installations that was their original justification. And it seems that these vessels are finally starting to be put to good use. In the north of the country, the HSI 32 fast patrol boats are now being used to assist in operations against the Islamic insurgents. In addition, the longliner trawlers have been seen catching tuna and swordfish for Imadam's successor company, Tunamar, from their base in Maputo. Mozambique has a real future. It has laid the foundations. It must make the most of these to develop its true potential.